All right, thank you all for sitting through that presentation, and I am really excited for you to hear from our current students today. If you haven't already, in your folders you will find bios about all of our current student panelists here today, and they will also be around throughout the day if you have questions for them later. So take a look at their bios, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves now to you. So if you don't mind including your name, program, class year, majors, hometown, and some extracurricular highlights, maybe.
Hi, I'm Dahlia. I am a sophomore in the Barnard JTS double degree program. I am from San Jose, California, and I am studying political science and English at Barnard, and I am a Jewish text and its interpretations major at JTS, which is a fancy name for a combination major of Tanakh classes and Talmud classes.
Hi, I'm Elon. I'm a junior in the joint program studying film and media studies at Columbia and Jewish literature at JTS. I've already forgotten some of the prompts, but I am from Charleston, South Carolina originally, and I am an engagement fellow at the Columbia Barnard Hillel, where I go around campus promoting Birthright, which is a free trip to Israel, and I also meet Jewish students who aren't so involved in Jewish life, and I help show them different ways of being involved with Jewish life on campus.
Hi, I'm Shaked. I'm a junior in the double degree program with Barnard and GTS. I'm majoring in neuroscience and behavior and Jewish text and its interpretations like Dahlia at JTS. And I'm from a suburb of Philly. And I guess my two favorite extracurricular activities are I'm on the neuroscience journal. I'm an editor for that. And I'm also the president of an Israel club at Hillel.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ezra. I am a junior in the joint program. I am studying political science at Columbia and Talmud and Rabbinics at JTS. I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. And I think that some of my favorite extracurriculars that I either do now or have done is I was VP Social Programming of Yavne, which is the Orthodox community on campus. And I am currently a member of Nefesh Board, which is the mental health awareness group. And I'm also in Greek life. So,
I'm Rory. I'm from a suburb of Philadelphia, right next to Shaked. I'm a current senior in the joint program with Columbia, studying economics and modern Jewish studies here. And and some things that I'm involved in are Greek life. I'm a member of a sorority, and then I'm also the president of a club at Hillel where we braid challah, and all goes to charity for hunger.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a second year in the joint program between Columbia and JTS, studying sociology and Talmud, respectively. For those of you that don't know, Talmud is Jewish law. Okay, defining terms is really important. I am also from a suburb of Philadelphia, right next to Rory and Shaked. And some of my favorite things I'm involved in on campus are I'm the vice president of policy of List College Student Government. I'm also involved in Greek life, and then I'm also part of Columbia's Jewish a cappella group, Pismon.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a junior in the joint program with Columbia, studying neuroscience and behavior and modern Jewish studies. I'm originally from South Florida, and a few things that I do on campus. I'm the president of List College Student Council. I'm also a TA for Columbia's biology department, and I'm also in a sorority with Rory.
Thank you all so much. Okay, so I want our current student panelists to touch on all aspects of the undergraduate experience here, so we'll do our best in the time that we have. First, starting with academics. So if anybody wants to chime in, we'd love to hear about your favorite courses that you've taken or favorite professors you have taken on either side, and how you came to choose the two majors that you chose, any ways that you make connections between those two areas. So whoever wants to chime in, feel free.
I can start with a class that I think a lot of people on this panel has taken. My favorite class at JTS has been Medieval Jewish History with Professor Benjamin Gampel. It is one of the classic first-year classes that we take, and I think I was so surprised by it because I didn't think I would love Medieval Jewish History as much as Professor Gampel helped me love it. So it's really a great class, and I'm sure a lot of students on this panel also enjoyed it.
So as I mentioned, I'm a film and media studies major at Columbia and a Jewish literature major here at JTS, which overlap quite a bit. I don't know if I was so surprised by that, but also every once in a while I am surprised how much they overlap. Most of the classes I take at JTS are with my favorite professor, Edna Nachshon, who teaches about Jewish theater and drama in any subgenre of that you can think of. And in every class we discuss different movies, and there was one semester where I was taking American Jewish drama from mass immigration to 1945. Like half of this panel was in that class. And that same semester I was taking film history from 1940 to 1960, and like half the movies we watched were the same movies, and I was loving it. It was perfect for me. So little homework that semester. It was great. But it was really cool to see how they like really overlap, because I mean, film, it's a very Jewish-rooted study, and Jewish literature is Jewish as well. So I don't know. It was just really great.
Yeah, I'll say as an econ major and also like a modern Jewish studies, there isn't like a ton of overlap between my majors, whereas like some other people are studying like political science and Talmud, so it's like both law-ish. So you have ways of doing that if you want. I ended up not doing that, and I feel like I've gotten two very separate but very well-rounded educations, and my modern Jewish studies kind of like filled in some of the gaps that economics is not touching on because it's simply just economics. So I feel like there's good ways to do both.
I also think you'll find overlap where you least expect it. I took a class that has nothing to do with my majors, history of horror, and we tracked how the theory of horror has evolved through the centuries. And for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we actually covered Jewish texts and analyzed ancient horror Jewish texts from mostly Eastern Europe from around the 10th century. And I then took a literature class at JTS, and what text did we cover but those same exact horror texts? So you'll really find overlap between the two, and there's a lot of connecting points, which really surprised me when I first saw that.
I can also talk about my experience. So I'm studying neuroscience, like I said before, and I'm also on the pre-med track, so I'm very STEM heavy. And interestingly, in JTS, with my texts major, I've been able to take some like philosophy and ethics courses as well, which I think really tie in to the neuroscience as well as medical field in general. And there's like a really cool course that was offered, I think, last semester called Medical Bioethics, which I took with a really great professor. And so that even though I didn't know that there would be a lot of overlap, I think my JTS and like the Jewish perspective and approach to like medicine, medical humanities, and STEM in general has really like supplemented my love of neuroscience and science in general.
Okay, great. So how do our students do this successfully, managing their 2 degrees? I know it can sound daunting, and maybe it was daunting for some of you when you were sitting in these chairs, but I would love to hear about some tools, resources, supports that you've utilized to successfully manage and balance the dual degree requirements, and maybe just talk a little bit about what the transition looked like for you in your early years here in the program academically.
I definitely think that it's incredibly doable to get 2 degrees in 4 years, and I think it's also a matter of making choices that preserve your well-being while you're in the process of embarking on this really rigorous program. So especially as a first year, I tried to get myself into habits of taking care of myself and taking care of my psychological well-being and having really fulfilling social time with my friends, and setting boundaries, because I'm the kind of person who likes to be a little bit overextended, over-involved. So I ended up making sure I went on a walk every day in Riverside Park each morning before my classes began. And this year I don't have that time in the morning, but while I'm walking to my internship on the Upper West Side, I still try to take that time and disconnect from the stresses of my day. And it's also a matter of trying to book your classes in a way that makes sense. So usually my mornings will take place at JTS, and then I'll have all my afternoon classes at Barnard. So I have a good break in the middle of the day where I can really make that transition and find a way to balance it all. And I think you learn how to say no to things as you get into college, especially if that's something you struggle with in high school, but you also become really great at sussing out what opportunities are going to enrich your life and where it makes sense to put a little bit more of your energy into. So it's completely doable, and it's, I think, a matter of, first of all, prioritizing your own well-being, and from there you'll have the emotional capacity to take on more than maybe is the typical college load.
I think one of the things you'll find most with college students find most helpful is the student body here is extremely, extremely supportive. Being at such a large institution, it's really helpful that we have a student body of 200 people all going through the same program. And so because we all have two majors, even if someone has a different Columbia major than you can find a LIST college student who's willing to help you out with your JTS major and is willing to sit down with you and help you map out a 4-year plan, tell you the classes they took, tell you the classes that maybe they didn't like, suggest classes they think you would like. And you really can't find that at any other school, I think, because there's so little of us and we all know everyone and we're all so willing to help each other out. It makes our lives 1,000 times easier because we're all in it together.
Two resources I just want to kind of promote that I use all the time. At Columbia School of General Studies, we have the Academic Resource Center where pretty much you can get free tutoring. So when I say that center helped me pass general chemistry, I truly admit it. I was getting free tutoring twice a week. So that's really helpful. And also something for specific to LIST college students is that we actually get priority registration, which is a major, major perk of this program. We get to register for classes before a Columbia College senior gets to register for classes, which means you never have to fight your way into a class that might only have a small amount of people in it. And yeah, it's really, really important for this program.
Something else that I think is really just like a convenient truth, I guess, of the program is that when you start the program, you start your freshman year taking the same load of classes that you're going to be taking the whole time you're in school. If anything, it lightens up as you get towards the end. And so something about starting college and just knowing that that's what school's like and not knowing like a lighter load or anything like that. People will always hear that I'm in 6 classes and be like, whoa, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, that's college for me. Like I've never taken 4 before. And so next semester when I'm only taking 4 classes, I'm very excited. I think it's gonna be like the lightest load ever. But something about just coming into the program and this being the program, it's not really something you're cognizant of that it's like a harder program or that you're doing more, because to you, you're just doing, I don't know, like in high school, I took 8 classes every day. So if anything, it was a step down. It was nice.
I also think what differentiates, college and high school is that although you do have to take the core classes in college, and some of those can be sort of a drag, you're taking classes that you're choosing to take. You're taking classes that pique your interest and that you are aiming to go into. So as opposed to taking all of those high school gen eds that you have to take, and I know that can be long. My high school day ended at 6. In college, you're taking classes that you're really interested in, and you can build your schedule as you see fit. You can fit your breaks in during the day. You're normally not sitting in class from 8 to 5.
Okay, we can move on to life outside of the classroom now. So I want you to know that these students you see today and all of our students are actively involved outside of their academics on campus and around New York City. So why don't you share with our visitors what some of the most valuable experiences that you've had as an undergraduate student have been outside of the classroom?
So I can talk about a little bit about what my spring break just looked like. So as I said before, I'm in Columbia's Jewish a cappella group, Peas Moan. And one of the things we do is we travel throughout the year raising money, because we're a nonprofit, going to different Jewish communities in New York, in Philadelphia, more local communities, and we stay with them, and we do Shabbat with them, we perform Saturday night, and we raise this money, so during our spring break, we can do the same thing, but with a smaller Jewish community that doesn't get a ton of Jewish outreach. And so this past spring break, we raised enough money to be able to go to Curacao, which is an island in the Caribbean, and it actually has the second oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere. It has sand floors, and being able to go to Curacao with a bunch of like-minded students who I'm all really close with, because it's a 13-person group, and being able to see the synagogue and perform in it, they actually had more people in the sanctuary than they did for Kol Nidre at Yom Kippur that year, because it's like a 10-person community at this point. So it was like really, really mind-boggling and really, really amazing. And I don't know that I could get it in any other a cappella group, let alone at any other institution.
I think one great way that I kind of broke into the Columbia community outside of just JTS was joining a sorority. So Emma's with me in Sigma Delta Tau, which is a historically Jewish sorority, so I did stay kind of Jewish there. But I've still made lots of friends outside of the program that I wouldn't have ran into otherwise. I also had the opportunity to get involved in leadership. So I've learned a lot, grown a lot as a person. I think it's really prepared me for life after college. I've also met some great friends. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the best parts for me. And it's not super like, crazy Greek life here. Like it's not like what you see on TikTok in the South. So it really can be like a very chill but calm and normal experience. And it kind of gets you outside of the bubble of JTS, which can sometimes be a little bit hard to break out of just because you get so comfortable here.
Seconding everything Rory says about Greek life, I'll also say, since we're talking about outside academics, the Craft Center, Columbia Barnard Hillel, is a really great resource for meeting new students, mostly Jewish students, but meeting new students and getting involved in different activities and clubs. They have a lot of different fellowships that travel to different places. Over winter break, one group went to Israel, one group went to, spring break, one group went to Poland, one group went to Argentina. So they have fellowships that take you to different places. They have different clubs, and that's also it's just a really great social resource on campus.
Yeah, I can talk more to that because over the summer through Hillel, I was able to participate in a program called Onward Israel, where they send students to live in Israel and get an internship and just live in Tel Aviv. And so I had a wonderful time there. I met a whole bunch of new students that I wouldn't have met otherwise, and I was able to work at a neuroscience lab and gain a lot of professional experience, as well as get my name on a research paper, which was really, really cool. And so yeah, I think Hillel is an amazing resource, and a lot of JTS students in general tend to be very proactive in that space. So it's also another community that's very supportive.
The last thing I'll quickly add as well is that I'm a really big proponent of moving outside of the campus bubble for extracurricular opportunities. So I do work as a resident assistant at Barnard, which has been a way for me to integrate there more fully. And I also work at New York City Council for the Upper West Side District Representative, which has been one of the most eye-opening experiences, I think, socioeconomically, demographically, and also just an opportunity as a Californian to understand the dynamics of New York City a little bit better. And so that has entailed working a little bit downtown 3 times a week, getting to know an office staff of people who are older than me, very different from me, but also I think I have cool overlapping experiences with them. And it's been a really great way, I think, to feel more settled in New York at large, beyond just being on campus, really feeling like I understand the city. I understand kind of what makes New Yorkers tick in a way I did not before. And I get to kind of extend my academic interest into the practical policymaking realm.
Yes, I think that's a good segue into talking a little bit more about what it means to be a college student in New York City. So how has New York City enhanced your undergraduate experience? If you could share if you've ever been in a class that's gone out and done something around New York, or other types of internship experiences, or just fun New York City activities.
So I'm a really big proponent of taking advantage of New York City. It was really important to me when I was looking for colleges to find a school that was in a relatively urban setting. And something that I really like about Columbia is that while we are in a nice, quieter part of Manhattan, we're still very much in Manhattan. It takes me 15 minutes to get to Times Square on the subway. And some of my best friends go to NYU. On average, 3 to 4 times a week, I'm downtown. I'm part of like a social group where we get bagels every Sunday. I got a text this morning that they missed me. I was very flattered. And also, I've gone for different Shabbat meals, or I've just hung out with friends across the city. I'm in Times Square shockingly frequently for a college student. They have really good milkshakes at the Hershey store. And I've also gone with classes because New York City is like a major landmark with JTS. I've gone to the Center for Jewish History and the YIVO Institute. I've gone down to the Yiddish Walk of Fame, if anyone knew that existed, on the Lower East Side. And with Columbia, I've gone to the Met, I've gone to the opera, I've seen Broadway shows. And it's really cool because not only am I out and about in like one of the greatest cities in the world, but also when I have friends come visit me. I had a friend recently who really wanted to see the Met, and at Columbia there's a required course on like art humanities, and we went to the Met with that course, and I got like an A or an A minus or something in that class. So when I was bringing my friend around, I'd point out random paintings. I'd be like, yeah, so you can see the formal aspects of this art and the leading lines and the chiaroscuro of the coloring and the contrast, and like, I don't know what I was saying. I took that class 2 semesters ago, but it was very impressive, apparently. And it's really cool because being a college student in the city also unlocks a lot for you. A lot of museums let you in for free, or you can get really discounted tickets for shows because you're a New York City student, and they really value the education. So it's really nice to take advantage of the city.
I, along with Rory, we knew we were going for the same thing, maybe. We're both List College Fellows, so every spring, List College Fellows get to go see a show on Broadway. So we recently just saw Leopoldstadt, which is a play referencing the Holocaust. So it was really nice to bring a small community of List College students out into New York City. And also recently, Leopoldstadt offered tickets to all List College students, so a lot of our community was able to go see it, and it was really great to kind of bring our entire community into the city to do something all together.
Yes. Also, last year we went and saw Funny Girl with Beanie Feldstein. It was a much lighter thing to do, but I still really enjoyed Leopoldstadt. Wait, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about our classes that we have to take that go into the city. So first, Elon mentioned the art class. So everyone has to take Art Hum. We call it Art Hum, it's Art Humanities. Then there's also Music Hum. And so I'm in music right now. We'll be going to the opera later in April, which I'm very excited for. And also we've had like a lot of really cool in-person performances from people either like at the Manhattan School of Music or that study music at Columbia. So they come, like I've never seen like a whole like 4-piece orchestra, whole thing, strings, violins, and it was really cool. I've never like sought out those experiences before because I didn't think I would be so interested in classical music, but I've learned that I am.
Well, it is true that being in the city does have a lot of great boons when it comes to your classes, when it comes to job opportunities, when it comes to getting around the city. I will say, as a kosher student from a place with not so many kosher restaurants, the biggest thing about being in New York has been the kosher restaurants. I don't think my parents' credit card likes it, but really, just there's so much just life around the city, and there's so many things to do. And I mean, for me, kosher food is one of them, but there's just never. It's endless opportunity for a student in the city.
Okay. I want to make sure that we're saving time for questions from our audience, but one question that would be great if you all could answer from your own perspective. Based on your friends who attend other schools and your experience here, what would you say sort of sets the List College experience apart in a variety of respects from other college options, and what advice would you have for somebody who is about to embark on the college application process?
I can start. I was talking a little bit about this earlier, but I think one thing that really stood out to me are that there are so many different Jewish communities that you can be a part of while being in List College. At some schools, you'll just have a Hillel or a Chabad, and maybe you'll have a set of Jewish friends, but I think here we have a really diverse community. Within Hillel, there's 3 different just religious opportunities, Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox, but also there are Jewish clubs that you can be a part of that are based on Jewish values that not necessarily are religious experiences. There are also plenty of synagogues all over the Upper West Side that you can go for experiences, and they're all experiences that you can try out and see if you like them. You never really have to just invest in one and stay in one for your entire time here. And I think what goes along with that is my advice to everyone is just to be open on your experiences, be open on what you're looking for, because what you're looking for might not be what you expected to go in for. So that is my kind of big takeaway.
Something unique about this program is you have access to leading intellectuals and academics from both fields, from both secular studies and Jewish studies, and they always want to meet with you, and they're really always available. I wish I'd taken advantage of this before this year, but I really realized this year that going to office hours when your professor holds like open spaces for students to come in, or just scheduling meetings and going to meet with, in the same day, a professor who's a leading scholar in Jewish history, and also with a leading political scientist, for me has been like a really fascinating just synthesis of ideas and exposure to these brilliant minds that I don't think I would have been able to access otherwise.
To also second that, I have a professor who I love very dearly that every once in a while, if it's been a long day, I might play solitaire on my computer at the end of class. And I was sitting at home with my mom over a break, and we turned on PBS, and she was on the screen. And I was like, oh, wow, in the future, I'm going to never go on solitaire again. So yeah, shout out to her. It was great. Good time. Like shocking to see her. But also something that I really, really liked about this program over anything else I was considering or anywhere some of my friends ended up was that the dual nature of being in both a secular studies program at an Ivy League institution and at a Jewish studies program at one of the leading Jewish institutions in the world, country, wherever you want to market that. I think is that I'm really able to embrace fully both my Jewish side as well as some, like my secular side, I guess, if that's a term. I think if I went to any other school, I probably would have been studying something like communications or media or English or whatever I was looking into with like a minor in Jewish studies. And that probably would have just been because I was interested or curious in Jewish studies, but I didn't want a whole degree in it. And then in the end of the day, I would have been upset because I would have gotten one degree and I would have spent so much time on a minor and like my degree wouldn't show for it and whatever. I would have been very, very involved in Jewish life to compensate for the lack of the Jewish community that I was in otherwise. And so I think I would have ended up being, a lot of my friends like this from home are like this at their schools. They're like that Jewish kid who's very, very involved in places. And while I know that that's great for some people, I knew I wanted to be able to live both a very Jewish life and also live a very normal college life where I didn't feel like I needed to hold so tightly to my Jewish identity. And so being in a program where I'm inherently already tied to my Jewish identity and I'm getting a degree in a Jewish studies field that I think is not only more niche than anywhere else I could get it, but also just more interesting to me. And then also turn around and be a part of the Columbia community, not as just that typical Jewish student, but also get to be just a regular Columbia student and not feel like I'm compromising either one of those identities is really, really important.
I can speak more to what Elon was just saying because for me, it was always really important, like to see my identity as sort of singular, and I didn't like to think about having a Jewish identity and a secular identity that were separated, and I kind of always wanted to live my life like with them combined, and so I think this program is really beautifully like enables me to do that because I am able to go to classes at JTS, learn about if it's like Talmud or Tanakh or ethics, and then go into my courses at Columbia and approach those topics with like a Jewish like sort of mindset and filter, but that's not necessarily separate, but sort of intertwined with who I am as like a whole person. And sort of a different subset of that, I also really, really love how JTS is a smaller community where everyone knows each other, everyone is so supportive and loving and really wants to see each other succeed. And then to be able to go with that background into the larger Columbia community and the larger New York community, it, I think, strengthens me personally and gives me sort of the energy and the positive mindset to explore all of the different opportunities that we have here.
Something I like to talk about is it really is two schools, which means double the opportunities. A story I like to tell is when I first came here, I got really involved at Columbia really quickly. I joined that a cappella group I keep talking about. I joined Greek life. And I felt like part of me was missing something, and that was in high school. I was super, super involved with student government, and I loved that part of my life. And it just felt really overwhelming to try to get involved with that at Columbia. It's a lot of students, a lot of really, really smart, ambitious students, and I wasn't sure if that would be the right fit for me, if that would make me feel super welcomed. And so I was able to get involved with Liss College student government, and Liss College, as a smaller community, has so many different opportunities for you to get involved with extracurricularly and academically that can be a little less intimidating and a little more welcoming, while I'm also still able to maintain a social life and academic life and extracurricular life at Columbia.
Okay. I want to open it up to questions. If anybody in our audience has questions for our current student panelists, for questions for Joe or for myself, and we'll answer a few, then head down to lunch where you can also ask us questions, and then depart on tour. So does anybody have a question from the audience? Yes.
I'm a sophomore right now in high school. I was just wondering how your opinions on classes that you wanted to take in college and high school, how did that change based on when you actually got into Liss College and saw all of the class opportunities?
So when I was in high school, I was dead set on being a journalist because Clark Kent was a journalist, and obviously I was going to follow his path. And then by the time I actually applied here, I think during my admissions interview with Madison, I said I wanted to study linguistics because that was cool. And then I came here in the fall of 2020, virtually, so I guess I didn't really come here, but I signed up for my classes, and Columbia and JTS were both really pushing, hey, maybe just take our core curriculum first, don't lean into your majors yet. And I was like, okay, cool. So I took some classes, just had a good time, enjoyed what I was studying. It was like history, English. I think I was in an astronomy class. That was the hardest class I've ever taken. It was like math, oh no. But by the spring semester, I really suddenly wanted to be a screenwriter. And so I was talking to my advisors, and they're like, well, screenwriting classes are all film. Why don't you take a film class, see if you like it? So the fall of my sophomore year, I took my first film class, and I instantly fell in love, and I've been in it ever since. Big fan of every film class I've taken, and I'm currently studying for the LSAT, so it's not even like I plan to only become a film person now, but it's a field of study that I didn't even expect that I was going to be interested in, let alone really devote myself to, until I came here and just kind of fell into it. And now it's something that I have as a resource, or something that I have in my background that I think is really cool and really unique, but it's also, at the end of the day, my Columbia University degree is a Columbia degree, and if I say I studied film, people can see that as, oh, he studied film, he knows what he's doing, or they can say, oh, he studied a form of literature, or my mom is really trying to push me to be an English teacher, because apparently English teachers with film backgrounds is a thing. And so, like, really, it's you come and you're not allowed to pigeonhole yourself immediately. You're forced to expand your horizons, and it allows you the opportunity to really see like, oh, I really like this, or I didn't like this. I also wanted to be a history major at JTS, and I took so many literature classes that my advisor recommended that if I wanted to graduate on time, I become a literature major. So it's really what you make of it, or like what you fall into, and you don't need to have a specific mindset that you pursue. You can really just explore your way through, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm someone whose academic interests in college are not that different from what I was interested in high school. I loved my Talmud and Tanakh classes in high school. I loved English. I loved American history, and I am studying all those things now. But I think what college really provides is the opportunity to go really deeply and do so in an interdisciplinary way. I think one of the best examples of that is my poli-sci experience at Barnard. I am being advised by Michael Miller, who is a political behaviorist, which is a really specific subset of the American politics field that looks at the psychological and affective nature behind political decision-making, how, let's say you have a politician who is implicated in a certain kind of scandal, how can we empirically track the ways in which voters will respond to that? And the opportunity to kind of combine my love of rhetoric and writing and politics and do so in his courses. I've taken 3 classes with him by now, so I am certainly a big Michael Miller fan. That is kind of what college provides. It's the opportunity for incredible depth and exposure.
I love this question because when I came into college, I had no idea what Talmud was, and I had no idea what sociology was, and now I spend 6 hours a day learning both. I came into college as an econ major. I took my first econ class, and I hated it. It was too many graphs, too much math, but I took a step back after freshman fall, and I was like, what part of econ did I enjoy learning about? And it was why people make the decisions they make. So I was like, how can I turn this into an actual degree and something that's actually useful? And I took a look at Columbia's majors, I looked at psychology, I took a psychology class, and ultimately, like, sociology was the thing that best piqued my interest. And something similar happened at JTS. I had no idea what Talmud was. I came to JTS because I just really loved learning, and I really loved Judaism, obviously. And I was like, when I get to JTS, I'll kind of figure out like what I want to do with that degree and what I want to learn. And so I started filling out my core classes, filling out the core requirements, and ultimately I was really, really interested by Talmud, this thing I never even knew existed a year and a half ago. So it really is like you try things don't work out, so you try again, and yeah.
All right. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
My name is Jacob. I was wondering how you guys plan on incorporating Judaism 5 or 10 years down the road, whether you're in medicine or econ or whatever.
Great question. And before we get to that, I just want to say, I think a misconception about the List College program is that we are churning out all of our graduates to become rabbis or to work in the Jewish world. And of course, this is one of the best, if not the best, program to do if you want a career in the Jewish working world. And we have many of our alum in Jewish professional careers. But in reality, the vast majority of our alumni, so roughly 75%, are going on to careers in the secular working world or to continue their Barnard or Columbia degree at a graduate level. So I think when you respond to this question, if you are not thinking a career in the Jewish world, how do you plan on using your JTS degree and being a leader still Jewishly?
So I am a Talmud major at JTS, and I plan on going to law school, studying for the LSAT. And I think that what I have learned through my Talmud major are various legal devices that the rabbinic, ancient rabbis used in the Talmud, and various methods of reasoning and in different ways to think about cases that we may study. And I may have been skeptical before I started. I definitely didn't want to be a Talmud major initially. That more was something I realized last year. But it's something that I realized can be really useful when it comes to my possible career in the legal field. My brother-in-law was a Talmud major, and now he's a lawyer, so there is a model to base that off of. But there's definitely ways in which the material you're learning can serve to further I guess, either broaden your mind or sort of enrich your future career?
I can just say, if I do go into medicine one day, I wouldn't per se be using every single thing that I learned at JTS into my future career. But one thing I really focused mindset-wise is how do I keep myself involved in the Jewish world while being here? I was very involved in USY, United Synagogue Youth, growing up, and I actually still work for them in some capacity on their leadership team, and I run programs for young alumni here, and they're a subsect of the JTS community. So a lot of my work in college has been just moving from high school Jewish leadership to now college. Where do I want to keep my Jewish leadership still existing? And as I move out of college, whether that be lay leadership in a synagogue that I'm a part of or just keeping myself involved with the Jewish communities I grew up in, it's really been a focus while in college of where do I want to see myself in the next few years. And List College has helped me kind of push me towards that.
Yeah, I'll also say that as a senior right now, I'm graduating in like less than 2 months, which is crazy. It's definitely something that's on my mind a lot of how am I going to incorporate, like I've had Judaism throughout all my life, but I've never been, like even my family will say, I've never been more Jewish until I got here. And I really got to explore a lot of different types of Judaism. Like my 2 roommates are Orthodox. I grew up conservative. I've been around a lot of Reform. And so it's like really been a question on my mind of how am I going to practice my Judaism outside of college? And I think it has a lot to do with what I'm going to do after I graduate, which I'm not quite sure yet, don't have a job, but working on it. And I think it's also great because as a senior, we all do a senior seminar at List College. It's optional, but I highly recommend it. And so they've had a lot of organizations come in for young professionals that are post-grad with opportunities for how to stay Jewish and how to stay Jewishly involved, either in the city, they have like Shabbat meal like organizations where you like can host or you can go. So it's definitely something that is top of mind for people and something that JTS directly addresses through that senior seminar class. And it's offered like a lot of great resources that I can't wait to try out.
Okay, great. Oh, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I can say something quickly. I think for me, being like taking my Judaism with me like for the next 10, 15, like the rest of my life is sort of twofold. One is I guess staying involved in Jewish communities, but the other one is sort of how I apply like my Jewish values into the work I'm doing. So for like the medical field, whether like I can spend some time volunteering or like providing, I don't know, my knowledge and whatever I end up doing, like whatever doctor I end up becoming, like if I can just provide my services, like either for free or communities in need and things like that, just taking my values and implementing them in any way that I can.
Okay, great. And I also think this is a good plug to our alumni panel, which we are having on April 20th. You can register for it in your folder. There is a QR code there. But at our alumni panel, it is going to be facilitated by the Director of Alumni Affairs here at JTS. And we are going to have representatives, alum from the past, very recently, but max 10 years since they've graduated. And some of the fields that will be represented there are going to be education, politics, government, medicine, law, tech, and environmental justice and Jewish leadership. So I encourage you all to come join us for that panel to hear from them. Okay, so I know there probably are more questions, and we welcome those. So right now we're going to head down to lunch, and you're welcome to continue asking us questions there at lunch or ask any of our students. And around 1 o'clock, we're going to depart on campus tour group. So when we get to 1 o'clock, on your name tag, there will be a tour group number. And so that is how you know what group you are a part of. Joe and myself are going to be hanging out in the atrium downstairs throughout lunch and after tour. So if there are questions at any point, please come and ask us. So let's head downstairs.